Hey guys, in this video we'll take a look at 3 winning Space Marine lists from recent tournaments and analyze what brought them success and how we can mimic that to win more games. So without further ado, let's dive right in. First list in our top 3 is list by Theo Hayat. It's an Ultramarines Stormlance task force, and he took a 3rd place at a 40-player 5-round grand tournament in England on August 16th. This one is a very interesting kind of classic attempt to make Ultramarines work with something that is not Gladius, and I think it has been done pretty well here. Obviously, when building a Stormlance list, we want to try and have as much stuff as possible utilize 2 things. First is advance and charge, fallback and charge capability, and second is the amazing stratagems for mounted and fly. Specifically the fly stratagem that allows you to get -1 to hit and wound on something that has those keywords. Fly, in most of these lists you will see at least a couple of fly vehicles and sometimes some bikes, but we know that the Codex Astartes unfortunately doesn't have a lot of good bike units, so usually it will be, if it's Ultramarines, it'll be just the fly vehicles. In this case, I'll start from the end. We have the Stormraven gunship and 2 Stormspeeder hammer strikes, so these 2 will be able to heavily utilize that stratagem for -1 to hit and wound. It's so powerful is on something like the Stormraven gunship that already has pretty high toughness, a lot of wounds and -1 damage. Getting -1 to hit and -1 to wound is going to significantly decrease the chances of it dying in a single shooting phase. It's still more than killable, especially considering that it doesn't have a 2+ armor save, but it's still not going to be easy. So something needs to be inside that thing, and we have a couple of options of what could go inside. Obviously, Theo can change it from one round to the next, but my interpretation is probably Köhler and Victor's Guard go there. They are likely joining someone, and we have only 2 options for them to join, which is Company Heroes and the Sternguard Vets. Which both of them are not bad options, but considering they have Uriel Ventress here, he probably is going to join the Company Heroes, which is the more traditional combination. Not sure if Uriel's ability to give Deep Strike to an infantry squad would be utilized here, because of the Stormraven we have some seats that need to be filled there, so I'm not sure that the Deep Strike capability is actually going to be utilized. The stuff that we actually do understand easily are the 2x5 assault jump back intercessors, so they are amazing for skirmishing and they're pretty cheap relatively for what they do. They also will get to advance and charge all the time without you spending any CPs or combat doctrines, which I mean is the big bonus compared to Gladius. A big disadvantage in my opinion is that you don't have a dedicated melee stratagem that would work on infantry, so it means that you essentially take the JPI at face value. Whatever they can kill with their base stat line, that's what they're killing with the Stormlance. So of course doesn't make them anything like a bad unit or something. They're still very efficient, just this is one disadvantage that I think they have compared to their Gladius counterpart. And 2 Ballistas Dreadnoughts are a pretty easy addition. Technically it's funny, but the Stormraven could carry one of them with all the infantry inside. So you can possibly imagine a scenario where you yeet the ballistas 20 inches in one direction if you really want to. I mean, I would probably think about adding a Brutalis Dreadnought instead to utilize that movement, crazy movement that you get. But I don't think that Theo had anything like that in mind for this list, so we're not going to fantasize too much about this. Though I think that carrying Dreadnoughts on such a long distance is a very inviting idea, at least for me. So Marnie's Köhler plus 2 Victrix with either Sternguard or the Company Heroes, that would be a pretty nasty melee unit that is specifically dangerous if it is capable of crossing a lot of distance, because they do have advance and charge innately thanks to Köhler, but of course not nearly as much of distance compared to flying inside a Stormraven. Honestly, I'm more of a defender of an idea for the list with Stormlance of something like a fast shooty unit inside the Stormraven, so because you can disembark from the transport after it moves, and this way you get a lot of versatility from your squad, which is why I think the Sternguard are probably going to be inside the Stormraven, though it's only 5 Sternguard vets and they're not going to do that much damage. So I would expect to see something more substantial there, like Devastators or even Eradicators for what it's worth. You have Gilman in the list, so keep in mind that any shooting that you can see in this list is going to benefit from double oath, and that is a big difference. And also the discounted stratagem, even though that's not as powerful as it was before, but still it's very powerful. So it might feel to an uneducated eye that this list doesn't have a lot of shooting, but honestly, 2 hammer strikes, 2 ballistas dreadnoughts, storm raven gunship, and some pitter patter firepower from like stern guards, maybe scouts. It's pretty good when it's all re-rolling to hit and has +1/2. It's going to hurt. I would not say massively so, but it's not going to be something that you can just take turn after turn and not suffer the consequences. A few utility choices here in the list. Obviously, the scouts, they're just for scouty things. They have the missile launcher, sniper rifle, standard combination. We have the lieutenant with the combi weapon, which, I mean, never go outside without one. We have an ancient, which I think he probably is going to join a squad. I mean, maybe. He doesn't have to, so he can be just a cheap scoring unit, but I think he probably will join some of the infantry choices. And the ancients, they give the +1 OC, and also this model, if it's on the objective or within 6 inches of the center of the board, gets 4+ feel no pain. So technically, like, you can use it for some cheap scoring that is also not like automatic to kill. It's 4 wounds with 4 up feel no pains, like killing something with 9, maybe 10 wounds, close to that. Not bad for 50 points. So overall, it's a pretty tricky list to judge, and it definitely needs a lot of piloting skill. So I'm sure Theo has shown a very good result here in the 5-round grand tournament, and the 3rd place really shows that. I think you maybe potentially can make it even more powerful if you invest a bit more into shooting stuff for the Storm Raven. But overall, I really like the idea, and I think it's definitely a strong list. I feel uncomfortable having so few actually dedicated melee units in a Stormlance. It just feels weird to me, but I also understand that this detachment does not necessarily make you have a lot of melee. You can have just enough of it, and I think this list has enough. As always, I want to remind you about my Patreon 40K coaching service. If you're looking for help building your competitive rosters, preparing you for tournaments, or have any questions about your collection in general, check out the links for my Patreon in the description. Thank you. This list is Sebastian Köhler. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the last name. And this one is a Dark Angels Gladius Task Force list, who took a 2nd place at a 42-player 5-round grand tournament in Germany on July 26, 2025. Really like the simple, beautiful, plain, not in a bad way, lists of Deathwing plus Lion in a Gladius. It's just pure 40k goodness for me, and I really like reviewing these, and I really like when these do well in competitive tournaments, which proves time and time again the Gladius is an amazing toolkit, and the Lions guys, I would say the Dark Angels, they are pretty damn efficient at what they do. They are not overpowered, not even close, but the current iteration of Lion, where he gives his guys around him real ones to hit and wound, is really strong, and he's survivable. So I think he's in a pretty good spot. I would probably want something extra for him still, maybe just a tiny bit, maybe just a bit cheaper, but he is still not bad, and he's worth including in the list. And actually, 2 lists out of 3 today are going to include Lion, so a little spoiler for you there. So we have Azrael, which is an absolute must-have for all the Dark Angels lists. I mean, I like him. He's really good. I don't think you must have in a sense of that your list is going to be bad if you don't include him, but you're definitely handicapping yourself if you're not taking Azrael, because he's very points efficient for what he does. He gives you command point, he gives his squad 4+ invulnerable save, sustain hits, so he usually is very good with something that can do damage, which in this case is going to be 6 Inner Circle companions. And you know what I'm going to say, I don't like the fact that this list doesn't have the Impulsor for Azrael and the 6 ICC, but I mean, it's not bad. It's still a Gladius list, so they can still advance and charge. You can still take some maybe extra time to advance them into position, and then from there, yes, they're going to have a 3 inches less of a threat range, but you are, on the other hand, not forsaking your CP generation capability that Azrael has. Inner Circle Companions, they do have a huge damage output. I've recently included them in one of my top 5s. It was a top 5 for units that can kill a knight, and that should really tell you everything that you need to know. I have a Blade Guard Ancient here for 45 points and no Blade Guard, so I'm assuming that this guy is just there to be a cheap scoring choice. He's really not bad because he only costs 45 points and you get 4 wounds of 4+ invulnerable save for that. And I mean, he doesn't really get any other abilities, I don't think, so that's his sole role, is to be a cheap action monkey, and that's it, or just stand on an objective. Lieutenant with a combi weapon, that's a more sophisticated action monkey. He can do a lot more stuff, but we've discussed him time and time again. You know why he's amazing. Lone up, he can do a reaction move, he's stealthy, he has a 5+ feel no pain, just a great guy, just an awesome human being. I should say transhuman being. And we have Lion L. Johnson, of course, who is going to be buffing 3 units of Deathwing Knights. So this is the main meat of the list, the max of the Deathwing Knights. These guys are really, really tough. 4 wounds each, 2+ save, 4+ invulnerable save, -1 damage. They are really hard to shift, and despite Gladius not being the rock detachment, so you don't have the -1 to wound on them, but they are still going to be pretty difficult to get rid of, and they also have once per game 4+ feel no pain protection themselves, each squad has. So if you think that you're going to go through them with something like a grenade or something, you will, but you'll have to go do it in several phases. I have 2 Predator Annihilators, which are a pretty cheap option for like to have some shooting in the list. Obviously 2 Predator Annihilators, I don't think they kill even like a tank in cover on average, but they are certainly enough to make someone think about whether they're gonna walk out of the ruin into the open and do some action, or they're gonna want to stay back. And that's, I think, the main goal of them in this list, is just to be this small deterrence. And you can actually see like how expensive the Deathwing Knights are, that there's not really much in the list apart from that. They're like 5 scouts and 5 Vanguard vets with jump packs, and that's it. So that's the whole 2,000 points list. Yeah, the Dark Angels are really expensive, and that's probably what's holding them back at the moment in the meta. But they are still a very strong competitor across the wonderland of Space Marine chapters. I need to talk about why we need scouts, but the Vanguard vets are something that we don't see that often, and ever since they were discounted, I think people started sort of warming up to them. In the Gladius, they are probably better than in some detachments, because at least you have the option to give them extra AP, and the AP is a bad problem for them. And they have the 4+ invulnerable save, so they are much more resilient than the jump back intercessors. And if this particular squad that you want needs to go somewhere and actually stay alive there instead of being able to kill stuff, I think Vanguard vets are an interesting upgrade, especially if you have the 5 points left over and you just don't want to have another 5 JPI. You can exchange that into 5 Vanguard vets, and I don't think your list is going to really suffer from that. Maybe even benefit, depending on how you want to use them tactically. A really good list. Congratulations to Sebastian on the amazing result. Second place is really, really good on such a big tournament, and I like the list. I feel like I would be uncomfortable with this low amount of shooting, and obviously this is very, very low on, like, that's why when you start seeing people go into the Blade Guard Ancient style scoring units, you know that they are really, really straining for points, and that's just something that is true for these elite Space Marine chapters. They don't have a lot of points left over when they add the stuff that they really wanted to, and obviously this list probably started with Lion and 15 Deathwing Knights, and when you start a list like that, you don't have a lot of real estate to continue building it. So great result for Sebastian, and yeah, I don't even have anything that I would change myself, apart from potentially, as I said, that firing base of Predators, maybe changing that to maybe 2 Gladiator Lancers and cutting something out. But again, at that point, you're probably going to be sacrificing one of your scoring units, and you don't have a lot of them. I mean, he has enough of them, which is 5 by my count. Yes, Ancient, Combi, GPI, and Scouts and Vanguard vets. Yeah, so 5 is a good standard. It's not bad. It's enough. But yeah, I mean, the Predator Annihilators are a bit of a spot of worry for me. In any case, congrats, and we move on to number 1. The first place is a list by Team Nordin, a very, very interesting one. Stormlance Task Force Dark Angels list, so another Dark Angels one. first place at a 32-player 5-round grand tournament in Sweden on July 26, 2025. So in this case, we are, again, running Lionel Johnson, which I'm glad to see Primarchs being used. It always makes me happy. We have Azrael again. We already discussed why he's so amazing. And in this case, he is probably... he's going to be joining, I guess, the Intercessors, because I don't see Inner Circle Companions here. So, yeah, sounds like he's either going to be alone or he's going to be joining the Intercessors, which, I mean, either of those options are okay, not maybe the most efficient ones, because you really want him to give his ability to someone who deserves it. But anyways, it's still... it doesn't really matter as long as you have his CP generation. That's the main thing that he provides for the army. Next, Lionel Johnson. His rerolls work amazingly well for bikes, just as they work for everything else. And in the Stormlance, Lionel Johnson will be very, very fast because he moves 8, then he advances and charges, and he can walk through walls, mind you. So he's going to be where you need him if you are careful with how you position all the other stuff. We have Lieutenant with a combi weapon. I'm tired of talking about him. He's the third list with him. You know why you need him. And Raven Wing Command Squad, 3 of them. We're going to leave 3 squads of Black Knights. And don't let this slide graphic fool you, because for some reason in West Coast pairings, Tim had this written exactly like you see it. So 6 Raven Wing Black Knights that cost 540 points. It's actually not 6, it's 9 Raven Wing Black Knights divided into 3 squads of 3. And each costing 180 points. This way it looks much more understandable. It's just 3 command squads and 3 Raven Black Knight units of 6. So a whole bunch of bikes, 9 bikes in each unit. And each of these units is pretty capable both in melee and in shooting. It can get lance on the charge with the Stormlance stratagem. They do have the anti-monster inter-vehicle 4+ on their Corvus hammers, so they can pack a punch, and thanks to Stormlance and being very fast, they can actually go far. You cannot go through ruins, unfortunately, so the speed is going to be capped at how well you can maneuver around stuff. Why there is the Hunter's Instinct enhancement on one of the command squads, which allows you to put a squad into reserve and then treat that round as one higher, so it means that you can actually rapid ingress 1 turn sooner, or come from reserves 1 turn sooner. And that's useful when you're talking about units of this humongous size. The other one is not as interesting, it's just a fallback and shoot on one of these 3 units. You have all the other normal stuff for scoring, scouts, invade ATV, the intercessors, just the typical bunch of units that are good for scoring with Space Marines. Nothing really that interesting. We have Outriders here, which again we have the similar problem, 240 points, which looks suspiciously like 3 squads of 3 Outriders, which probably is what he meant here. We have a lot of potential here for early charges and a lot of move blocking, and Outriders, they are annoying to kill because they are 4 wounds each and toughness 5, so you need just to throw a lot of stuff to go through them, and once you do that, you are probably going to be hit in the face by a bunch of Black Knights, plasma, and to help all that stuff survive, we do have a Ravenwing Dark Shroud as well. So if you park that Dark Shroud in the middle of like your blobs, everything is going to be -1 to hit. So that's not fun to deal with, and I can see how this can actually catch a lot of people off guard, and it's pretty evident by the results. So congrats to Tim. It's a very interesting list. You don't see that often, and I'm glad to see Lion still being here. And I think he's pretty synergistic with this kind of a list. I do believe that it could work, and obviously it does. So congrats on a great example of how you can use bike armies en masse. And something that surprised me was that it doesn't have a lot of shooting in terms of like tanks or Eradicators or Inceptors, stuff that we're used to, but you get all the shooting from bikes, and that just somehow works. So sometimes you can combine your shooting and your melee into one squad if the squad allows, and that can certainly work. So it's a good lesson for all of us. Let me know what you think about these top 3 lists, and which one did you like the most, and which list would you change and how. That's probably the one I really want to know. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.